It's really interesting. And I guess the first point I kind of want to just really hammer home to the listener is this idea of sort of imperfections and mutations almost serving as evidence for the evolutionary process rather than a sort of what you'd expect under a sort of theistic guiding hand, which is I guess, an aggregation towards perfection. You've already mentioned, John, that various sort of kind of species can be at the top of their game in their certain area, in the certain environments that we have. And we look at something like the end of the dinosaurs via the kind of comet that hit Earth, and then you kind of have this dust incineration cloud going around Earth, and the all the large species basically been wiped out, and then a kind of like a fair few years later, mammals kind of pop back into existence, and then it blew up, and it is now the sort of time of the mammal. There doesn't seem to be a perfect design that's going to be able to survive all situations and all scenarios. There seems to be the push towards species being at the top of their game in their environment currently, and then, as you already said, that environment changes and things shift. Is there anything that I said that was incorrect in that, John? I think that's a good point to just hammer in.
No, that's really good. Actually, it's kind of fun to explore that specific
Yeah.
extinction event because it's one that we know a lot about. Like we are now very, very confident that the dinosaurs went extinct because of this asteroid impact. It looks like all of our models of it and stuff suggest that that asteroid, it would have caused a cloud that probably killed, or it stopped photosynthesis for at least 2 years. So there was basically all the plants went, they were killed by this cloud. So we had this nuclear winter that after the impact. So all of the herbivores that depended on those plants for 2 years, they had no food, so they died off. Uh, Basically, the things that survived that were you had birds who could fly to whatever little areas still somehow had food, and mammals survived it probably because there were some that were burrowing animals and they were eating fungus and they were eating maybe also the roots of plants. A lot of plants go dormant in a situation like this, just like they go dormant in the winter. So they would still have roots available to be eaten. So somehow mammals, several groups of mammals survive this, several groups of birds survive this, several groups of reptiles survive this, but the big dinosaurs, they all went extinct. Uh, what that means is that, coming out of this, the world is like empty. And so once these plants start turning back on, start photosynthesizing again, start producing all this food, there's just an abundance everywhere. And so all of these mammals that used to be competing extremely like hard just to survive, they were at the they were at carrying capacity before. So every environment has a carrying capacity. It can only support so many individual organisms. Well, all of a sudden you've got a ton of food once photosynthesis kicks back in, and all of the competition is just relaxed. And so there's population explosions of every lineage that survived that extinction event. And during that time, there's all this, it's so much easier for evolution to explore more routes because even fairly big mutations that might really mess you up in some ways, but give you benefits in other ways, those mutations, they can stick around. You can have, just like some of these big mutations that we see in dog breeds, like the one that we have for wiener dogs, it makes them really short and long. That mutation also gives them back problems. So it's a disadvantage, but the advantage that it gives them is it lets them hunt underground. And so we the reason that we have wiener dogs is because they were really good at hunting rabbits and other things that burrow, and so people kept them around. Well, a mutation that big, all of a sudden, would not usually be selected for in nature because it causes these back problems as well. But after a big extinction event, something like that could survive because there's not a lot of competition. There's tons of opportunities. And so you have that one mutation that causes a dramatic change, but also causes problems. And then you have time for other mutations to come and help fix some of those problems that the big one caused, and you can actually get that sort of rapid evolution to happen, even though it causes problems. So anyway, these big extinction events are really cool because you have these rapid, we call them radiation events, where you get these rapid speciation events that happen rapid in evolutionary time, caused by those catastrophes.
Yeah, I do find the extinction of the dinosaurs to be fascinating. The asteroid hitting and this gas cloud or this sort of kind of debris flying into the atmosphere and kind of coating the Earth for a good few years. I mean, the reality was it's also superheated as well. So from what we can tell, it was almost acted like a grill over the surface of the Earth. So kind of like large things, you know, breathing was difficult, finding food was difficult, and also it's extremely hot. So they kind of, some of them did just slowly burn to death. And anyway, it's crazy.
Well, yeah,
Crazy.
you have the heat originally, which I think it's been a while since I looked at those models, but I think almost the entire Earth got blasted with a heat wave, and then you have the cloud, which stops the sun from getting in. So the heat wave is then followed by a big freeze. So it's like, if you can't dig or fly to get to try and find a place that's safer, you're kind of screwed. So it's not a surprise that this caused a mass extinction.
Yeah.
It's a very, very tough time to survive.
Yeah, and there's been 5 in total, which is crazy. I mean, there's actually just to kind of finish on this point. There's a really cool documentary series that's accessible on Netflix. It's probably accessible in a few other places called "Life on Our Planet." It's based on a few others, "Life on the Universe," etc. And it's all narrated by Morgan Freeman. But it literally goes through like how the Earth greened and kind of how things came about in the ocean and how kind of animals came out of the ocean onto the land, and how some that went back into the ocean, and then we had these kind of 2 diverse areas, and yeah, it goes through all the extinction events, all the different sort of animals that we're aware of currently, and it goes through, there's a whole episode on sort of the dinosaurs being wiped out, and I was watching it with my 2 kids, and we're all sat there like almost crying. It was incredible, like how crazy this sort of event was.
Oh yeah, I mean, the dramas that have unfolded, just that when you try to think about evolutionary time, I mean, it's impossible to understand what a billion years is, or what 200,000, or even what 200,000 years is. It's crazy for us to think about. I mean, you know, we think of ancient as being like when the pyramids were built, or when Jesus walked. You know, the story of Jesus is 2,000 years ago. That seems so ancient, but we're talking about hundreds of thousands. We're talking about millions. We're talking about billions of years of evolutionary time. And it's insane to try to understand this, and just to think about all of the dramas. I mean, all of the struggle for existence that's just constantly going on, things battling for life, all of the relationships that would develop between animals, you know, like we see today, you know, like the badger and the coyote that like to team up when they hunt. There's all these cool little relationships that pop up, and just think of all of those relationships throughout the history of this planet. It's just, it's so fun to think about, like, just, and it's impossible for us to fully grasp the meaning of this, and to grasp the breadth of the suffering that's happened, and the breadth of the you know, the successes and the failures. It's just really cool to think about this.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you enjoyed this clip, then head on over to Locals to access the full conversation right now. Supporters can access the video version, and everyone can access the audio-only version of the conversation. I'll see you over there.